Hey, welcome to RBL Global Tracks, where this week we'll be looking at key takeaways from RB Leipzig's victorious trip to FC Heidenheim. But there's going to be a longer section where we ask ourselves, are we the baddies? Because we'll be looking at events that took place off the pitch. You may have heard that the RB Leipzig supporters, I think it was a nice crowd of 1,500 fans, were greeted by a rank-smelling away section of the stadium. And we also learned that a group of fans who were on their way back home to Leipzig after the match actually got attacked. And in the aftermath, one of the supporters, who's quite well known on TikTok, Johannes, actually posted a video. And in that video, he described what happened, but also claimed that the RB Leipzig shirt is the most hated shirt in Germany. So we definitely asked ourselves, are we the baddies? And we tried to examine this a little bit further by interrogating a recently published article on a German news portal. And in that article, the author tried to explain why clubs like RB Leipzig have an unfair advantage over other Bundesliga clubs. And finally, you definitely get a preview to the possibly most important match this season, our clash on Saturday versus the Bumblebees. And those Bumblebees will come to Leipzig with their sting out, and they're definitely out for revenge. We hope you enjoy listening to this episode. Thank you very much. Hey, and welcome to RBL Global Tracks, Leipzig's fresh RB Leipzig podcast in English, brought to you by Richard and Mario. And amongst us, we are still season ticket holders, passionate supporters, and not very neutral local pundits. Both of us have been following Leipzig football since our childhood days. So if you want to hear about RB Leipzig, capture the mood of the fans in the city, and if you want to go beyond numbers and statistics, you are in the right place. We're delighted to welcome you on board. Let's go. Auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs, and good evening, Mr. Richard. How the devil are you tonight?
Good evening, Mr. Mario. I'm fine. Friday's around the corner. That means the weekend is around the corner as well. And you know what's coming closer to us? Only 3 weeks away from now. Oh, yeah.
We have to wear wigs and some shirts. I think the team is called Chiefs.
Charlestown Chiefs.
I got to watch a movie before that to educate myself.
Yeah, we were trying the Czech Republic. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. But this is something for the mid of May. Now we're end of April. Crucial Bundesliga time. Let's go.
That's right. So what are we going to talk about today, Richard?
Of course, we want to take a look back to our victorious performance against Heidenheim. And yeah, we have to talk about some off-pitch issues. So you have prepared yourself very well, and I'm very excited to hear what you have to tell us. And after that, we're going to take a look ahead to most likely the most important match in the recent weeks, the most important match in the spring of this Bundesliga season, RB Leipzig versus Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, that's going to be a crucial one. We'll be looking forward to that. I'll be on my soon-to-be premium seat in Sector D and take it all in. And hopefully we come away with a win. So, Richard, let's before we do that, let's have a look back at our match, our victorious match versus FC Heidenheim. It was the expected hard nut to crack, wasn't it, Richard?
Indeed, and it's pretty much
you pay into the Phrasenschwein.
Well, yeah, but we talked about it, and I explained why I expected hard nut to crack, this tough game, and it became literally exactly what was expecting, and almost the outcome would have been 1-1 draw, though Goal Panda had another idea just before the final whistle. And so, yeah, it's just like bread and butter Bundesliga business. This is no disrespect to Heidenheim. I do think really that they're performing really well the whole season. But on the other hand side, we are the team with the better individual quality. I think our team is slightly better coached than Heidenheim. And so it's no surprise to come in away with 3 points there. But on the other hand, it's not like, okay, this is what you always do. Is not like go in the shop and buy 6 eggs or something like that. So they beat Bayern when they came back from a 2-0 deficit, and they drew against Dortmund at home. So winning there is not easy. We did that. I'm extremely happy about it. But on the other hand side, this is no game anyone will remember because of some spectacular scenes or something. Maybe because of the nice little fireworks in our away block.
Flares had gone off.
Yeah, I like flares when they are part of a somehow planned show.
Okay.
But sport-wise, football-wise, nothing really to mention here.
I'm really pleased that Šeško scored as well. And fun fact is, I think he scored his 10th goal of the season. And that's 2 more than Timo Werner. Just mentioning it here. Throwing it out there. Great. Wonderful. So, mission accomplished in Heidenheim. Let's move on. So, let's ask ourselves, are we the baddies? So, welcome to this section of the pod where we'd like to look back at events that happened in Hoffenheim off the pitch and subsequently online. We will also check out a published article on a German news portal called ntv.de, which briefly explains why clubs like RB Leipzig are pushing legacy or traditional clubs out of the Bundesliga. And we ask ourselves, what is Rasenballsport's interest in all of this? But first, let's start looking at the events that happened at Heidenheim off the pitch. And I know at the beginning of the pod I did mention that there was a nice crowd of 1,500 RB Leipzig supporters who traveled to Heidenheim. And it's worth noticing that the total capacity of the Heidenheim Stadium holds about 15,000 spectators. And usually 10% of the seats or tickets are allocated to away supporters. So that means RB Leipzig used up the complete allocation. So the away section was sold out. No gaps, no no-shows. Everything was geared up for an interesting singing and chanting contest. But before the game, we learned that somebody had treated the away section of the stadium with butyric acid overnight, and that resulted in a rank-smelling away section. Fortunately, I never had to smell butyric acid, and I read it does smell very rank like puke, and I'm so glad I never had to smell that. Still, the 1,500 away supporters did put up with that, and I also read the loos weren't very clean either, and provided a lively atmosphere. And coming back to the butyric acid attack, we need to acknowledge that Heidenheim's coach Schmidt did condemn the attack in a press conference after the match. But hey, damage was done at that time. But thank you for bringing that up to everyone's attention. Much appreciated. Back to the atmosphere during the match. Very good support by the RB Leipzig supporters. I did notice, though, that those chants included abuse for the home section, and this kind of abuse we usually don't hear in the RB Arena towards the opposing fans. They usually abuse us. And RB Leipzig fans also let off quite a lot of flares in their section, and that is something we usually don't see in the RB Leipzig Arena. But, game was victorious. Everything was pretty good. Until after a couple of hours after the match, a video emerged on X-Twitter, and that was posted by a gentleman called Johannes. Now, Johannes has been creating content by videos for quite a while, and this year he changed his format to provide a very compact recap of the match day and focusing on RB Leipzig. So these videos are very good. If you come across them, do watch them, and you can find him on Twitter by his username at jjmrtn_, and we provide a link in the show notes as well. Now, he posted a video which received a lot more views than the ones he usually posts. I think we're running up to 800,000 now. And I'd like to explain why that is the case. And I can understand it because he was very emotional at the beginning of the video. He's holding up a shirt of RB Leipzig, and he claims that this is the most hated shirt in Germany. And he goes on to explain why that is. He was one of the people who traveled to the away game in Heidenheim, and as I understand from what he's been also talking about, he does that on a regular basis. And he did put up with the smell, he did put up with the lose, and he did put up with the abuse, not a problem. But on the way back, he was traveling in a car with fellow RB Leipzig supporters. And in Germany, you can actually tell where the car comes from. We have registration plates where the first 1 to 3 letters indicate where the car is registered. And that in most cases means that's where the people are from. Now in Leipzig, it is the first letter of the city of Leipzig, so an L, and an L indicates that this car is from Leipzig. And unfortunately, they were spotted by a larger group of Heidenheim fans. And those Heidenheim fans just looked at the registration plate. They concluded that this car is from Leipzig. So everybody who's from Leipzig is an RB Leipzig supporter, and they're the baddies. And they did attack the car. The car got damaged. Nobody inside got hurt. It is worth noticing as well that in the car there were 3 women as well. So although there's no physical harm, there's definitely a great shock and anger about this. And that's what Johannes keeps explaining in this video as well. Now, he also says that he is used to getting extra police protection, escorts by the police when he's walking to an opponent's stadiums and back. But this is a new level of violence, and it is something he needed to bring to the attention of everyone. And of course, he was shocked and angry, you can tell by the way he's talking. And the point he's making is quite valid because he says, well, a lot of people can have objections to an artificially franchise-like club like RB Leipzig. But they have to make the distinction that the people who support the club, who wear those shirts, are still humans. Humans like every football fan who's just there to watch football, to support their team, and that's it. And a lot of people don't make these distinctions. And I must say, when I was reading the comments below his video, they did seem to confirm his observation because many people did justify violence against fans of RB Leipzig and supporters of RB Leipzig. So Johannes is obviously very concerned and worried about this and totally fed up, as I can understand. And he had not only an unpleasant experience in terms of not feeling safe going to an opponent's stadium and come back and having to be escorted by police. Now, this time, they also got attacked. Richard, I understand that you've been supporting RB Leipzig for quite a while, and you've been on quite a few away trips as well in the past. Is this something you experienced in the past? Do you kind of share Johannes's view?
Well, I do. But on the other hand side, I didn't have similar situations by myself. The most recent away game I attended was, I think it was the cup final in Berlin, and that game before, I think it was the away game in the UEFA Champions League 2017 in Istanbul, and there I experienced something completely different. So nobody knew before how the RB Leipzig supporters will be recognized by the Besiktas supporters, but it seems like they didn't really interested or were in interest. Oh, come on, das mache ich nochmal. But it seemed like they didn't really care about what kind of club we are and where we're from and what's this whole Red Bull thing is all about. It was something like another different story because back in those days, 2017, there was this German-Turkish tensions. There was this journalist, I forgot his name, who was arrested, and
I recall. I don't recall the name, but I can see his face. Yeah.
yeah. And then Mr. Erdogan said something very unpolite against the German chancellor those days, and something like that. And the Besiktas supporters are mostly not on the same page as their president. So not the president of the club, but the president of the Turkish nation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt as if they liked that we were there, because it seemed like we did a statement, so that we are not shy to travel to Turkey because of those tensions and maybe get arrested for no reason because only you're German. And nothing like that happened. And in the end of the game, after the game, so they won 2-0. I think that helps being friendly after the final whistle. But after the game, there was some scenes where people of both clubs met in the fence that separated the home supporters section from our sector, and they were exchanging scarves.
Okay.
And that was pretty cool. And so the other away games I attended, there was at 1860 Munich back in those second Bundesliga days, and I was at VfL Halle 96. That was, I think it was 2010. And so all those matches I attended away didn't have so many supporters from the home crowd. And so many, maybe in Germany we would say erlebnisorientiert, so not really interested in football, but more interested in getting in touch with the away supporters. So I'm really lucky and glad that I never experienced what Johannes experienced recently, but I do feel his concerns, and to be honest, when I'm away, when I'm somewhere away in Germany, I take care that I don't express myself as an RBL supporter by showing some merchandise or something like that. The only time I was wearing my RBL jersey was not at home, was in holidays in Denmark, 2020, and so nobody cared about RBL as well up there.
It's really interesting insight. Thank you very much, Richard. So after learning what it is like to travel to away games as an RBL supporter, let's go back to the question, why is RB Leipzig such a hated club, and are we the baddies? And we are, in the eyes of fans who support clubs like HSV, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Eintracht Frankfurt or Dynamo Dresden, we definitely are the baddies. And I think it is even worse, we are the uber baddies. But let's explain that as we go on. And in order to do that, I thought it's a good idea to have a look at an article which was published on the German news portal ntv.de. We're going to put the link into the description as well. And that is a commentary on the Leverkusen side winning the Bundesliga title. The text is in German. Headline reads something like, unfair competition. Due to Leverkusen winning the Bundesliga, the league has died a little again. Now, the author's name is Roland Peters, and he is a reporter on political affairs in Latin and North America for NTV.de. That's the German news outlet. It used to be TV stations, now solely streaming, has an informative website. And it is also worth mentioning that Mr. Peters is a member of the football club 1. FC Köln. So it is a view from an 1. FC Köln supporter and member. And I think it's interesting to understand what it means to be a member of the 1. FC Köln. What kind of benefits do you actually get? I just picked out two, maybe the major ones. As a member, you get first right to purchase tickets to some of the most in-demand home matches, and sometimes even away matches. But I think the big difference and the big part they're always referring to is that as a member, you can attend the club's General Assembly and vote on issues regarding the club and the direction of the club in the future. And this does refer to this infamous 50+1 rule. And in his article, Peter is talking about a two-class system in the Bundesliga. There are company-owned clubs, and then there's the majority of clubs who actually adhere to the 50+1 rule. So what is that infamous 50+1 rule? Well, in short, it actually ensures that the voting majority, so the people are the members who go to these General Assembly, have the majority in terms of voting rights. So the club should always hold 50% plus one vote of voting rights. And this should ensure, or does ensure according to the people who actually come up with this rule, that private or commercial investors cannot take over clubs and potentially prioritize profit over the wishes of supporters. I don't think we see this anywhere else in the world. I think that's quite unique for the Bundesliga. So the majority of clubs stick to this rule. However, there are a handful of company-owned clubs which are not bound to this 50+ rule. And these are Bayer Leverkusen, VfL Wolfsburg, and until recently TSG Hoffenheim. So we can discount them now. And although RB Leipzig technically adheres to the 50+1 rule, it is regarded as a company-owned club because the number of members is very small. We have about 20 members. The entry level and the fee that you need to pay is really high. And if you compare this with a club like Borussia Dortmund, who has about 170,000 members, that is quite small. And therefore, people conclude that these 20 members vote in the interest of the company. They might be even appointed by the company Red Bull. And the company Red Bull has always full control of the club's affairs. So that's their view. This suggests we're not alone, but I guess we're the biggest villain. But we come to that a little bit later. So in Peter's view, company-owned clubs have the competitive advantage, and that's because potential financial losses, which are caused by maybe bad transfers of players, these financial losses are offset by their owners. And these clubs also enjoy a financial advantage because of the fact that their owners have deep pockets most of the time. Well, they do. And they can also pay higher transfer fees because of that. And on top of that, the German Football Association seem to protect these types of clubs as well, because there are special licenses for the likes of VfL Wolfsburg, and Bayer Leverkusen. And there are loopholes that RB Leipzig used, well, in the eyes of the author and many of those fans of legacy clubs. So, on the other hand, there's the majority. There are those civilized clubs which adhere to the 50+1 rule, and they play fairly. They follow the general rule book, and all their actions have direct consequences. And we've seen this with the clubs like Hamburger SV, Schalke 04, and Hertha BSC. Especially Hertha BSC. A lot of money was thrown in there, and look where they are now. So their fans get increasingly desperate because they realize that it is really hard for their beloved club, who many times has been around for donkey's years, to rectify past mistakes, and they will never be able to catch up with the company-owned teams. A little note here, he does not mention FC Bayern München in this context, who won the Bundesliga title 11 times in a row, and they're not a company-owned club, according to this definition. But Peter notices that none of the company-owned clubs have been relegated. He believes that if the team is not successful, more money is injected by the owner. And because of this privilege, company-owned clubs are getting stronger and stronger. And that has an effect, because this causes other legacy clubs, which play fairly, to be relegated to a lower league. And we've seen this with Hamburger SV, Schalke 04, 1. FC Kaiserslautern. Remember them? And if they get relegated, of course, they lose further vital funds. And it makes it hard, if not impossible, to promptly be promoted back to top-flight football. That must be really exhausting. It must be really frustrating. So the author actually concludes that this is not a level playing field anymore. And therefore, Peter singles out 3 clubs, which are the baddies. It's Bayer 04, Leverkusen, because they're the biggest sin. being a member of the Bundesliga since 1979, and they are supported by the big multi-global giant Bayer AG. And it's also VfL Wolfsburg, because they are financed by Volkswagen. And also because Volkswagen is one of the shareholders of Volkswagen is the Bundesland Niedersachsen. That also means that potentially, to a certain extent, taxpayers' money is involved as well. And last but not least, Rasenballsport Leipzig, because Rasenballsport Leipzig are Red Bull's puppet. They profit from loopholes of the legislation in the league, and they have worldwide branches with sister football clubs. Well, perceived sister football clubs. And the only purpose why RB Leipzig exists is to promote the products of Red Bull. I'm not drinking Red Bull, but I'm going to those football games. But anyways, that's just besides. So as per Peter, Leverkusen's title is tainted because that is also in line with their cup win in 1993. They actually won the DFB Pokal in 1993. Also, Wolfsburg's Bundesliga championship in 2009. But let me assure you, in 2009, nobody talked about company-owned clubs and thought that the title was tainted. And, of course, RB Leipzig's 2 DFB Pokal wins in 2022 and 23. But, Peter, you can be relieved. We cannot win it this season. So Peter acknowledges that Leverkusen has impressed this season. However, in his view, the Bundesliga has died a little again. So now that we have looked at the experience of being an RBL supporter on the road and looked at a publication which confirmed that RB Leipzig is a company-owned club with a competitive advantage, let's return back to our initial question, which is, well, are we the baddies? And judging by those scenes, like the ones in Heidenheim and the abusive comments online, the publications such as the one we just looked at, well, I suppose we are the baddies. And frankly, I don't care. I really don't care, because we can take all of those insults, abuse, and the disrespect of other fans on the chin, because we just like watching football with friends, family, in a passionate and peaceful setting. And do I feel guilty that I support a club which has a competitive advantage over the 50+1 legacy clubs? To be honest, not really. Not at all. Because the two-class system which was described in the publication that we just had a look at, that actually has existed since 1991. And in 1991, 2 East German clubs from the DDR Oberliga were allowed to join the Bundesliga. Now, the Bundesliga were extended from 18 teams to 20. The year after, 4 teams got relegated, so it was back to 18. And the 2 East German clubs which were able to join the party was FC Hansa Rostock and SG Dynamo Dresden. Now, just 2 out of 14, I may add. So it's also worth noticing that by that time, West German legacy clubs like VfB Stuttgart, like HSV, almost all of them, were able to go on a shopping spree in the former GDR, German Democratic Republic. And what they did was they gained a competitive edge and a competitive advantage by buying the best players from those clubs in East Germany, which were then left with not so great players, and they had to regroup again. So, do you think that was fair? Do I think that was fair? Do me a favor. I really don't think so. So, give me a break, guys. So, I really don't give a monkeys that we are the baddies, as long as there isn't any violence. And I'm afraid as long as the narrative is kept up that RB Leipzig is a company-owned club which has a competitive advantage, which is completely unfair. And that is pushed not only by those legacy clubs fans, but also by, I'm going to say it, the media. Well, publications like the ones we just look at, and also representatives of the German Football Associations, or people like representatives of clubs like FC Augsburg or Borussia Dortmund, where as long as that is pushed, then I think it's only human that there are always people out there who like to turn that those words into action, i.e. into violence. And this is something I really do not appreciate, because if you do bear in mind, when we are in the Champions League and we play teams from other leagues where investors actually own clubs, and these are not companies, but, investment funds, they really don't care that RB Leipzig is a club which doesn't adhere to the 50+1 rule, which is not something they know of anyway. And that is always very refreshing. So if we were part of the EPL or La Ligue, I think, was it La Liga? I'm so sorry. Then we wouldn't have this conversation and we wouldn't have this topic. But referring back to Johannes' video that he posted at the weekend, telling us about his experience at Heidenheim, his opening words were RB Leipzig, wir müssen reden, which means RB Leipzig, we need to talk. So it would be interesting to look at RB Leipzig. What do they have to say about this? Do we hear anything? Well, I'm afraid not much. RB Leipzig is actually there, or the communication people and marketing people are actually there to continue painting a colorful and cheerful picture of the happy club of optimistic views, which I'm actually fine with, but sometimes it would be nice if issues which concern their fans, but maybe in our case, clients, even key clients, to show them some sort of support and give them some voice. And I understand that a colorful picture is very good for marketing, and after all, we're here to promote Red Bull, guys, remember. But I do believe that seeing some extra support and some wording and the club reaching out to various people would be great. So I'd like to think that the club has conversations through their channels of communication with other clubs or with the associations. But it would be great, and maybe that's already happening, I'm not sure, that these representatives of the official fan clubs, OFCs as they're called over here, get to talk to the club as well. They reach out to them. And if they both sit down and they try to find solutions for keeping those fans on away trips safe, putting in extra measures, that would be awesome. Because otherwise, I think less fans will travel to away games. And we've seen this with Dortmund. In 2016, 8,000 RBL supporters went out to Dortmund to support RB Leipzig. They got attacked. And the subsequent years, it was 3,000 less. About between 4,000 and 5,000 people go to Dortmund now, because nobody wants to go to another place. A club they actually admire and respect as well, but nobody wants to go to a place where they get stones thrown at, where they get attacked. That's not what football is all about. And if we do see security issues at the Red Bull Arena in Leipzig, then this has another effect which is detrimental for the club and Red Bull, because then less people will attend these games, and the gaps and the seats will become a lot more obvious. And it's not only about Sector D, by the way. So RB Leipzig, it would be awesome if you could address this issue, if you could work together with the OFCs and show that we are a little bit more than just customers. But if it is the other way around, the consequences are that those customers will withdraw their custom and stay away in an increasing number. So there you go. This is my take. I'm afraid, yes, we are the baddies. Well, we would like to know, do you agree? Do you think that we are the baddies? Do you maybe think that RB Leipzig should be doing more to support its fan base or its customers? And if the club Rasenballsport Leipzig does not show the support to the fans, doesn't reach out to the fans, and is just busy with creating and painting that happy picture in order to market their solutions and products, especially on an international level, should then, in that case, the fan base, the OFCs, the official fan clubs start to organize themselves, put their heads together and see what they can do, and kind of force the club to do something, and if they don't, withdraw their custom. What do you think? Do you agree? Leave us a comment on your favorite platform, or leave us a comment on Twitter. We're dying to know what you think. Thank you. So now that we have established that, Richard, let's move on to our next opponent. Who's coming to town?
Introducing our next opponent, der Gegner check.
The Bumblebees are flying to town, downtown Leipzig, Saturday afternoon, 3:30 in the afternoon. So it's not the Samstagabend-Topspiel, but
no Jens Fuß.
Surprisingly. So we have to deal with them Saturday afternoon. I think stadium will be sold out this time. I'm pretty sure, and I'm also sure there will be a lot of black and yellow merchandise in the C and A section as well. So
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think the real ultra Dortmund fans will actually travel to Leipzig? Because in recent years, I think they boycotted Leipzig, and the section you had, the away section, was filled with homegrown East German-like, not so wild and loud supporters.
Well, hard to tell, but I expect them to come because everything's on the line.
Exactly.
So at least for them, not for us, for them. So, but now this isn't that really true as well, because if they can win like one game versus PSG, then the fifth place qualification spot for the next UCL season is almost secured. So it's all in their own hands, and I think the ultra sections knows this, and they have no choice. They have to support the team.
Yeah, you're right. So,
when, if not now?
So I remember the game at Dortmund was very entertaining and very positive for us, including that beautiful goal by Yusuf Pausen where he did a little dance, and Schlotti, didn't have a chance. What do you expect this time?
Well, yeah, let's just take a look at the bigger picture first. So Dortmund is one of the few teams we have a negative record against in the Bundesliga matches. Yeah, we are 6-2 and 7 with 25 to 26 goals, and so we had marvelous wins and devastating losses.
True.
Yeah. I remember our very first Bundesliga home match in September 2016, and we played against.
Jumping up and down.
And Keaton nailed the ball under the roof just before the final whistle. And there was this 4-1 away win. I love it. In April 2022, when Leimer played arguably his best game for RBL, when he scored twice in the first half. And of course, one of my favorite moments in our cup history is the 2-0 win in last season's squad. Yeah, when Willi Orban finished his 3-on-1 counter-attack into the empty net.
Somebody shoot! It was Willi Orban.
I love that. But on the other hand, I mentioned it. Yeah, there were losses. So one I would like to forget is the cup final, May 2021.
Where Meccano actually tripped.
Yeah,
Holland kind of pushed him over. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, we were so outplayed so badly by the Borussen, and with 0-3 at halftime, game was over before it really started.
Yeah.
And there was this 1-3 home loss in January 2021. What was at that point? It was the last loss of a back-to-back losing string in home games, and it was one of the worst matches under Julian Nagelsmann, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So, but since then, we only lost once, I think. And you mentioned it, we won the first leg in Dortmund, very lovely. And Dortmund's season is hot and cold. Obviously hot and focused when it's all on the line in the UCL. Remember, they started with a loss and a draw against PSG and Milan, just to win 3 in a row, then twice versus the Magpies. And in Bundesliga games, they only lost 5 in this season. So 4 versus the top 4, twice versus Stuttgart, once against Bayern, and RBL. The other loss was versus Hoffenheim at home. But are somehow cold and sloppy, especially in the defense. Only 9 clean sheets this season in Bundesliga games.
And they have a really good goalie.
Yeah. And I think there's another number that emphasizes that, because in 6 of those 9 clean sheet games, the opposing team had at least 1.0 or more X goals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So to put this in perspective, we had 10 games with no goal allowed, and only Augsburg in match week 4 had more than 1.0 X goals. So what I want to show is here that number one, Gregor Kobel, is their life insurance in many matches this season.
Yeah.
He's remarkably good, and in my opinion, arguably the best keeper of the Bundesliga.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. So, this leads us to the preview now, to the match on Saturday. Dortmund will travel without number 23, Emre Can, and without number 22, Madsen. And especially this guy is a huge loss for Dortmund. He came in on loan, I believe, it was on loan from Chelsea during the winter. And since then, he started every game. And, on this left back side, who was the starter before he joined Dortmund?
No.
No. Yeah, he made him forgotten. It's a Benzebaini who played left back, and then he was replaced by Madsen. So Benzebaini is now out due to an injury, season-ending injury. He got against it was in a friendly game he played with this national team, so not available as well. And Madsen, way better performances than we saw from him when he played for the Blues. And maybe his left back position fits more to his talent or playing style. So because in London he almost always played as a right winger on left midfield and with a lot less playing time. So this is a huge loss for Dortmund. And although I am not a fan of number 23, Emre Can, because in my point of view, he's somehow overrated. But he is obviously accepted by his teammates as their leader. And so he is the indisputable starter for the gaffer and the captain of the squad. And therefore, his absence will leave a hole that has to be filled with someone else. Well, I expect number one, Kobel, is the logical fit for the role as a captain. But there is still someone needed to fulfill Can's role in defensive midfield. And I looked into the roster, and the only one I spotted is number 6, Özcan, instead. So anyway, I told you I'm not a really fan of Can. This will be something that will limit the possibilities of the Dortmund squad, and I think a much more intense loss is the absence of number 22 Madsen. So I think Terzic has to find a solution here to replace him. And so I told you Benzebaini is out, so maybe we will see Riasson, number 26, take over the left side, or number 17, Marius Wolf. In any case, a loss of quality. Offensive unit, of course. One guy to mention, number 10, Jadon Sancho.
Do you think he's getting back to the form that he displayed in this previous stint at Dortmund?
I agree.
Does he?
Yeah. I agree with that. So he is on fire with the ball, at least. Against the ball, not always with 100% effort in the game. But yeah, he's such a skilled player, so much talent, and don't give him too much space. It's like he and Xavi. Yeah, it's like some similar playing style. If he has 1.5 foot too much of open space, he will use it and will create something, either for him or for his teammates. And another one who caught my eye, and I guess everyone's eye in the most recent weeks, is number 20. Marcel Sabitzer, on fire as well. It's a familiar name to us. 6 seasons for RBL. Almost every game as a starter. They went to Bayern and became a bench player. So he came from the bench more often than not. Didn't find his luck at Old Trafford either. And now he seems to find back his strengths he showed us so often since he joined the Bumblebees.
Impeccable timing. Thank you, Marcel.
Yeah. So watch out, Marcel is hot. Although he won't get a warm welcome, I guess. I'm not sure why.
Well, can you think back of the press conference of the final you mentioned versus Dortmund, when he was really, well, he always seemed to be quite cold, like very rational, no emotion. And it seemed like he didn't care. And as soon as Julian Nagelsmann knew he would be going to Bavaria, including Mr. Marcel Sabitzer, it was kind of cold on RB Leipzig, and like they couldn't care.
Yeah,
so I guess we don't forget that. On the other hand, I remember his great performances, that beautiful goal versus Zenit St. Petersburg in the Champions League, or indeed Tottenham Hotspur. That was beautiful. And he always did his job,
Yeah, I agree. He was always loved because of his performances, and so he was respected. Okay, he was respected by the supporters and not loved. Conclusion: players to watch.
Before you go to jump to any conclusions, what about Adeyemi? Is he out on a red? Is he suspended? Because the game before last, he caught a red card.
Yeah, but it was the double yellow.
Was it? Oh, so it's only one game.
Yeah, so he received his fifth yellow. After that, he received the double yellow that leads to a red card. And in those cases, the fifth yellow is taken off. So he's still on 4, I guess.
Lucky guy.
But, he is like the opposite of Marcel Sabitzer. So he is back to his form. Outstanding. And Adeyemi, though I think, I do believe that he has a talent to be a above average Bundesliga player, he's somehow out of form, and I don't know why.
Okay, so that settles that.
Yeah. So, conclusion. Players to watch. Number 1, Gregor Kobel. He will show us, unfortunately, some outstanding saves. Mark my words. And of course, number 20, Marcel Sabitzer. So how to win this game? Easy. Attack over the right side where Martin is not around. So then don't care if it's Rierson or Marius Wolf. Attack on the right side. Attack on the right side, because this game played like 12 or 13 games with Martin as a starter on the left side. Everyone was well matched to each other, and now we have to arrange with someone else. I think this will interrupt some study processes, and I don't know how to express that correct. And stress the backfield whenever possible. So they have issues creating a nice playing from the backfield over midfield. Stress the backfield whenever possible. So because if they're trying to create something, trying to play the short ball, something like that, they make mistakes, and we can exploit that.
Great. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to check it out.
So yeah, you will be there. Unfortunately, I will be not, because my beloved wife, is on a Kräuterwanderung. Well, so
whatever rocks her boat.
So it's hiking for little plants. A little plant hiking.
The hunt for little plants is on.
And so I have to take care about my children. And so unfortunately, I cannot attend this game.
Well, I think I can handle it without you. It's fine. But okay. But who is going to be on the pitch for RB Leipzig?
Liebe Fußballfans, wir kommen jetzt zu unserer heutigen Mannschaftsaufstellung. Wie immer beginnen wir mit unserem Torhüter, unser Mann mit der Rücke Nummer 1, Peter! Rücke Nummer 4, Willi! Mit der Nummer 7, Dani! Mit der Nummer 8, Amadou! Mit der Nummer 17, Louis! Rücke Nummer 20, Zah! Rücke Nummer 22, David! Mit der Nummer 23, Castello! Mit der Nummer 24, Xaver! Rücke Nummer 30, Benjamin! Mit der Nummer Nummer 39, Benjamin!
I don't expect any surprises because it's pretty obviously that Coach Rose has found his go-to starting 11. So it's like I expect the same starting 11 we saw in the recent games. Gulaschi, Henrichs, Orban, Lukeba, Raum, Schlager, Haidara, Xavi, Olmo, Shesko, and Mr. Goal Panda.
All right. Sounds very interesting. What about Mo Shimakon? Why is he not starting?
Obviously, he's like player number 12 or 13.
Very good answer.
Yeah, well, it's as simple as that. You know, best player available, and so I think, yeah, on the left side it's indisputable. It's Raum, and the right side is indisputable. Is Henrichs, and although Shimakhan can play in the center back as well. Well, okay, let's try to forget this horrible misleading pass Lukeba played versus Heidenheim in the first 11th minute. Besides of that, he is so good, and since weeks, for weeks, for months now. Yeah, so I feel sorry for Shimakhan because I like him seeing him playing. I like his playing style, but obviously, it's those few percent missing to be number one.
But you know, we saw at Heidenheim, when he comes on the pitch, he can create something very powerful and useful. So, wonderful. Okay, in terms of prediction for the score, what do you think is going to happen?
I think we're going to send them home with a 2-0 win.
2-0. I'm going for a 2-1. But we got to beat them just because. I know the German teams, the Bundesliga, only needs 4 more points to be 100,000,000,000% safe. So it won't matter what Aston Villa does. It won't matter what the 2 French teams will do in order to get that 5th UCL spot. But it would be so nice to finish ahead of Borussia Dortmund and maybe even catch up with that surprisingly very good team, VfB Stuttgart, in the process. So it would be great. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be, as ever, a very tense game. My voice is going to suffer. I hope to get some audio clips as well, which we'd like to share with you next week. Thank you very much for listening. This has been... Oh, thank you, Richard. I'm so impolite. This has been RBL Global Tracks, our RB Leipzig podcast in English. So if you like to get in touch with us, you can do this by leaving a comment on your favorite platform that you're listening podcast to. You can also subscribe to the podcast. That would be awesome. And you can send us an old school letter, no email. And the email address is talktous@rbleglobaltracks.com. You can find us on X, Twitter. Our username is @podcast_RBL. Once again, thank you very much for continuing to listening to us. We will be talking to you again next week. Keep your fingers crossed for a good weekend. Take care. And what do we need to say now, Rich? Yeah, auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs.